Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my podcast, Live Your Best Life Every Day. And today I have the honor to be interviewed by my friend Nabz. Here we go, and I hope you enjoyed. Happy listening.
Self help books often promote the power of positive affirmations. You, me, and almost everybody in the 21st century have heard of them. But if you've never tried them before, the idea can seem incredibly awkward. Telling yourself how awesome you are can seem bizarre. But if that's all you're doing, there are probably more effective ways to go about it. And if you're a skeptic, it doesn't hurt to understand how and why positive affirmations became so popular. They say that the mind is a powerful tool, and how we use it really determines the level of belief or lack in ourself and day-to-day life. Today's guest is a very special one that I actually connected with through social media. I was scrolling through his socials a few weeks ago, and I started realizing that all this man does on his social media is he just sits and talks about positive affirmations, and there's all these different messages around his house, and I just could not help but wonder what is going on in this person's life. So welcoming today my guest, Stefan Dajo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you with me today. How are you?
I'm doing super great. Thank you very much for having me online today. It's a pleasure for me to be on here, and definitely I feel blessed already.
Thank you so much. So, Stefan, let's jump straight into this. I am so curious to hear more about your story.
Yeah, well, what part of it?
The part that is associated with positive affirmations, because this is what the episode is about. I want to know more about your thought process and what made you, start thinking about this and attracting this in your day-to-day life.
Well, to begin with, I will have to take you down memory lane a little bit, and I have not always been this type of person who is pretty much trying to see life from a positive perspective, and I come from a very dark place, if I can put it that way. I've had that time in my life whereby I was so negative and full of negativity, and that was until I had a mentor who once told me, and he told me this: you attract what you think, so be careful what you fill your mind with. and
Mm,
and that was something that ran really deep, because sometimes you are being told something, but until you put it into application, you don't actually get to realize the depth of what you were told. And back then, I used to have asthma. I mean, I was diagnosed since I was a kid with asthma. And I recall he came to me and asked me, I heard that you have asthma. Is that true? Do you have asthma? And back then I replied, yes, I have asthma. And he asked me again, he asked me three times, do you have asthma? I say, yes, I have asthma. And he told me, well, if you keep saying that you have asthma, if you keep believing that you have asthma, you will keep being a victim of asthma. And by saying so, you are kind of like owning it. Now, there are ways you may go about wanting to step or to get out of something. But the thing is, you have to use your willpower. So, do you want to be rid of asthma, or do you want to be forever someone who says he has asthma? And he said, I will challenge you. How about you go on saying from now on, whenever anyone asks you, do you have asthma? Say no, you don't have asthma. It was, it was quite weird for me at first, but but you know what? Sometimes in life, there are those moments whereby you have no other choice than to go for the challenging option. And I went for that. And believe me, um, when I was having that conversation with him, I had my inhaler. I never actually used up that inhaler,
mm,
and that's basically where it all started. when I got down the highway to actually, starting to say, I don't have asthma. I do
Right.
not have asthma. I do not have asthma. Whenever someone will ask me, I do not have asthma. Because at the end of the day, the words that we take out of our mouths are not just mere words. No, they are not just letters being aligned in a certain way. We create life. We create our own reality the moment we open our mouth and declare things. You know,
Right. Right. Yeah.
exactly. And even for the normal person out there who has no knowledge of the power of words, at the end of the day, when you open your mouth, you start putting something into motion. So if we all have that power, consciously or unconsciously, why choose the negative way if I can do something positive out of that? So that's basically what led me down
Mm.
this path to deciding that on a daily basis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare what I want to see. I'm going to go about filling my mind with what I'm expecting out of my day. Because at the end of the day, if you don't expect anything, you don't attract anything. That's just the way it
Right.
works. That's a law of attraction. And that's how it basically started.
Well, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Now, you said something that kind of gravitated my attention when you said two things. You said power of mind and the power of words.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think the power of word affects the power of mind? So let's assume that I'm in a meeting and I'm incredibly nervous. I don't know what I'm going to say on this meeting, and I feel very belittled by all these other seniors that are sitting with me in this conference room. And all of a sudden, I just go back to my mode and I say, I am going to do a kick ass job. I'm going to do a kick ass job. I feed myself that word. Will, will that ignite my subconscious mind to be the confident person that I want to be?
It will, but again, that's just 50% of the work,
Mm,
it's gonna get you the boost that you need to step on stage, But what might actually get you going is the fact that you have, and I will say this clear, you always have to prepare yourself for the worst, and tell
right.
yourself this: in the worst case scenario, this is what's gonna happen. So
Mm,
anything above that can only be good,
mm,
you
mm.
know and
Right.
that's what you keep in mind actually in those type of moments, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. And in terms of so you went through this chapter of you kind of convincing your subconscious mind, telling your subconscious mind that you did not have asthma, and you managed to not overlook it, but like surpass this stage of your life. How did you kind of adapt this type of lifestyle in your day-to-day living?
Well, I'll say this: it starts from a place of being tired of being tired. Do you get that? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you just hit the bottom emotionally, and are being told so many things that you cannot do because of a certain condition,
Mm,
And by doing so, I realized how much power I was giving away by accepting not only the condition, but by also taking into consideration and into account what I couldn't do because of the condition.
right.
And that led me to realize something that I apply in my life even until today, is that there's nothing wrong with getting opinion or diagnosis, for example, and
Mm,
in whatever, like, let's say, whenever you want to do something, whenever you're trying to achieve anything, there is nothing wrong in consulting other people and getting their opinions on that. However, at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about what's
right.
good. It's about what's good for you, and it's about the way you feel about it. There is
Mm,
no there is no use running with somebody else's opinion, for example, or vision or perspective, if that's going to destroy your inner peace or your inner joy or your inner you. Do you get my
mm,
point? So
Mm,
that's
mm,
kind of how I apply it on a day-to-day basis. Like we all live in a world whereby we can easily be influenced by so many things, by so many factors. What I choose,
right.
however, is in the midst of what I'm going through, in the midst of what I'm being told, and in the midst of what I'm experiencing, I will focus on attracting the positive while I acknowledge everything else, while I
Mm.
acknowledge the limitations and the setbacks. I am not going to stop there. I'm not going to stay within those borders. No, I'm going to think beyond and I'm going to try to reach what I'm trying to attract or where I'm trying to get, if that makes
Your
sense.
highest potential, basically. You want to reach your highest potential. So what I mean, this is a very interesting conversation because I'm kind of co-thinking about this message that you always hear in the day, like the day-to-day life, which is, when people tell you, people are always going through all these things in their lives, right? You have so many things happening. There's a lot of negativity in the news, in the day-to-day life. And there's always a message that is pondered in the back of my head, which is, no matter what happens, the universe always has my back, right? You always think that in the back of your head. Now, I'm just trying to associate the power of affirmations, because when you're repeating affirmations to yourself, you're saying, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am loved, like whatever your affirmations are. How do you think those affirmations would be associated with that higher level, the higher message that the universe has our back? Does the universe hear us when we say that?
I would just like to be precise on something is that it depends already on everyone's perspective on what the universe is. Some people
Mm,
might a superior being, some people might call him God, some people might call him, like it depends. But at the end of the day, I believe in something is that there is power in the words that we release, and we do have an impact on what's around us altogether.
mm,
So whenever we speak or release any words, for example, it resonates. It like I believe if we could go about it in a scientific way, words have vibrations, and if words have vibrations, it means that they can affect whatever it is that it happens around us. Now, at a different range, for example, that could be. But I'll just give you a simplest thing that years ago I watched something on. Online, I believe it was on YouTube, and it was a video basically where they were explaining the power of words. Whereas you take a bottle of water, two
mm,
bottles of water, okay, and on one body of water, basically you keep speaking negative words on a daily basis, okay. You speak so much negativity into that, and then you put it in the fridge, and on the
mm.
other one, you only speak positive words and everything, compliments and everything and stuff, and then you put that one in the fridge as well. At the end of the day, once they are both frozen, one of them will have this flawless, beautiful, icy structure and everything and stuff, and
Mm.
the other one will also have a beautiful icy structure, however, with many frictions, you know.
Right.
And that was quite strange, but quite eye-opening. And saying that if our words can affect, the structure of the body of water, what else can it do on a daily basis?
True. And imagine how, just thinking about this, I was reading this article once, and I think we have, I don't know how many thousand messages that go through our heads every single day. And I think there was about like 80 to 85% of those messages that are usually negative throughout the day.
Hmm.
So imagine how that would affect not only our energy, but our physical body as well.
Oh yes.
And that's why people, you hear people getting sick because they're thinking all the time. I'll give you a very recent example. I was going through a personal experience recently, and it was just dabbing and dabbing and dabbing around in my head for months. And at the end of the day, I realized that the only person that was being affected negatively by this is not the other party. It was not the other, the other side. It was me. I was doing this to myself.
Yeah.
And it's very important to understand that everything that we are surrounded by is energy. Water is energy. Humans are energy. Words are energy. Even, the higher power, whether it's someone once said, what is a higher power anyway? What is God? What is, religion? What is a spirituality? It's energy. You feel it. And that is always around us. So when you're feeling connected to a higher power, to a god or a universe, you're actually connected to that higher energy that you believe in, that you're connected with. So I think we got very kind of we got into a very kind of spiritual aspect. I want to go back to the importance of affirmations and how they can really affect our day-to-day life. So, do you think that there's, health benefits associated with, repeating? How do you repeat affirmations anyway? Like, how does it work? Let's assume that you're waking up on a day-to-day basis. What does your affirmational life look like? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, definitely and absolutely. So this is how it goes about basically. When I get up in the morning, the
Mm,
first thing that, yeah, exactly, the first thing that I hear already in the morning, I will tell you, my alarm is not a regular alarm. You know,
right,
my my alarm is this: Mr. Stefan Dajo, it's time to be successful. You know, that is my
mm,
alarm. That's basically how it rings every morning. And the first thing that we often do and how we set ourselves to have a bad day is when we get up, we kind of have like these words that we say that we throw out there, like we swear, we are like, oh, like there's always something. But when you wake
I
up,
have those days all the time. I would be like, oh my God, I have to do this today.
you see, but imagine now waking up to the sound of a voice telling you, Nabs, it's time to wake up and it's time to be successful. Believe me, that rings and hits a whole different way because it gives purpose to you waking up, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Ha-
Yeah.
Right there. And the second thing is, as soon as you get off the bed, there's always that laziness that you have between the bed and reaching the washroom and brushing your teeth and stuff like that. And believe me, once you get there, okay, you just tell yourself, I'm already up, show is on, the lights are on, I'm on stage, I need to perform. That's it.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you have to set your mind as if the moment you get off the bed, you step on stage. Your day is a
Right.
stage, and you can't drop the act until the show is over. And the
Right.
show is
And that's when you kind of give yourself the permission to just disconnect.
exactly. But now there's one thing that I would like to emphasize on, however, is this, and this is something that many people quite overlook, is that affirmations, telling yourself or repeating those affirmations in the morning doesn't just have to be from a speaking perspective. No, you have to mean what you say. And unless you mean what you say, nothing's going to happen.
So how do you mean what you say? Like how do you so do you like writing them down means that you are believing these stuff? Because it's one thing saying them, but it's one thing believing in them. So when you say something like I am successful, do you have to scream it out or do you have to write it down? Like
No,
how do you convince that subconscious mind of yours that you
there,
are successful?
there is no specific rule, about convincing your subconscious mind. You can scream it, you can sing it, you can just say it in your mind as well or in your heart. But at the end of the day, you have to mean it when you say it. And how do you mean it when you say it? You have to attach expectation to it.
Right.
Because when you expect something, then definitely everything that you say about it, you will obviously mean it.
Mm,
I'll just take
mm,
an example. Many of us go to work, okay? with the expectation of having a salary at the end of the month. All right. Now, me being successful already would mean that that salary shall increase at some point. So let's say now I want a salary increment, and in that particular moment or time frame, I have attached success to me having a salary increment, because success is not such a wide thing. There are many steps that comes together and under the big umbrella of success. So I can call it mini successes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, without the expectation of getting a salary at the end of the month, number one, will I go to work? No.
Mm, mm,
Number two, without the expectation of getting the salary at the end of the month, will I expect a salary raise? No.
mm,
So now, if I do not expect a salary at the end of the month, okay, and get up in the morning and say, I am successful financially, okay? I receive my salary raise and everything and stuff. Salary raise on what if you already don't even have a salary?
yeah. The interesting thing about this is the way I see it is a very similar and a very different, I would say, way of looking at it. But I think that the end result or the end message is very similar. So the way I look at things is when I go to work, I know that I am successful. I know that I'm doing everything that I can do in the best and highest capacity that I have. And whatever the benefits are, so I don't like to kind of associate, the end result, like a salary, as I just like to look at it as an after benefit that I reap at the end of the day because I worked hard. So for instance, when you go to work out, you're not thinking. I think one of the worst things that people do is they go on a diet, for instance. And when they go on a diet, they say, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to lose 7 kgs. And right there and then, they're setting an intention to say, okay, I'm going to torture myself and starve myself. And then I'm going to lose that weight, but then I'm going to go back to square one. And whenever someone tells me that, I always say, listen, it's not about you going on a diet and losing the 7 kgs. Because guess what? Once you lose those 7 kgs and you go back to your normal routine, you're going to gain that weight, if not more. So the idea is for you to have a sustainable lifestyle where you literally continue on living healthily, not starving yourself, but just having more healthier habits in the long run. It's a lifetime commitment. And I think the same thing is associated with your mind and how you tame it and how affirmations help you tame your brain and say, you're okay. You're going to do this. As you said, when you wake up, you're telling yourself, it doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm successful. It can be like, I'm happy. I'm calm. I'm okay. It's simple things that will give you, the intention to kind of move on with your day on a healthy basis.
And furthermore, even, the thing is, for many people, there are many skeptical out there, and I believe there is a recipe for each and every one, not a general rule per se, but there is this way that people can go about, making it themselves and actually going about it based on their personalities and their ways of seeing life altogether. And for that, I believe it's important to mention the fact that like being the kind of person who goes about, telling themselves or reciting daily affirmations, it doesn't mean that you are not being realistic, because the common person out there these days, the reason why many people are not into daily affirmations because they think that it's not being realistic, and quite the opposite, actually. Daily affirmations are quite attached to your reality. It's just that they are attached to what you want to see happening in your day, and
Yeah.
and and that's the power of it. Because the moment you realize that your words have power and can affect your reality, why not use that power, right? Why not use it? And that's basically that. So at the end of the day, it's down to that. It's down to telling yourself that I woke up this morning. Okay, I'm grateful for waking up. And trust me, an attitude of gratitude will always take you to another altitude. definitely.
Yeah, totally, totally.
And that's how it starts, actually. That's how it starts. Already you have to show this gratitude towards the fact that you are up and you are able to say this and that about your day. So if I want to have a good day, I'm gonna get up in the morning and I'm gonna tell myself today's gonna be a good day. The moment I step out the front door heading to work, I'm like, well, doesn't matter what happens today, I know I'm gonna have a good day. And of course, it doesn't always turn out like to be 100% positive. No, you might reach work and suddenly the whole head breaks loose and everything and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about finding, where to put your focus. Do you want to focus on the
Mm.
negative or do you want to focus on the positive? Because both are always going to be there. There's always going to be some negative aspect of your day. But the
This
truth is,
brings me to my next question. Sorry for
yeah,
interrupting you, but I need to throw that into this little equation of a conversation that we're having.
okay, okay.
Now, right, you wake up in the morning, you're saying, I am going to be great, I'm going to be all the great things in the world. Now, the $1 million question is when you step out that door, which is your little nest, which is all positive and lovely, and you go out into the, life and you see all these people, people can be quite toxic, Stefan. Like you can see a lot of negative people in this world. And, you have those, how are you? Shit. And you're like, really? That's how we're starting the conversation. I've had so many of these people in my life, where you see them and you just constantly feel this heavy, negative vibe. And you're like, oh God, I need to protect myself. So when you have, perked up yourself to be prepared to be this positive person to go out into the universe on that day, and then you step out into outside of your house and you see these people, like what do you do? How do you react to that? How do you protect yourself from these people?
Well, it's pretty simple. Don't be a sponge. It is as simple as that. Don't be a sponge because when you act with the mindset of being a sponge, what happens is you meet those people and whatever negativity they kind of like throw. Because don't forget, you mentioned it yourself. You said everything around us and even within us is all about energy, right?
Yeah.
So the moment you meet someone with so much negativity first thing in the morning, you have two choices actually. So you can either choose to absorb their negativity, or what you can do is you kind of like overlook that and just throw your positivity there. Because don't forget this. If one thing can affect you, you can also affect it.
Yeah.
You know?
You
So
remind me of a conversation that I once had with a friend of mine, and she told me, whenever you see someone like that, rise above. And I said, what does that mean? She said, just rise above. Visualize yourself being much taller than them. Look
exactly.
look at them with compassion and just go back to yourself. And that's how she always protects herself when she sees people like that.
That's just that. Because you can't take that in, you just can't. And the same thing happens even at the gym, for example. I like every time I'm training with friends, for example, I'll be like, all right guys, how are you feeling? And believe me, when you ask anyone who is not used to go to the gym, how are you feeling, the
Mm.
answer is likely to be, oh my god, I'm feeling so much pain, this and that. But here's what I do. How are you feeling, good or great? You have to give me an answer, good or great. Either ways, it's a
They're
positive
both
answer.
positive. Yeah, they're both
Exactly.
positive.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I train myself to, whenever I approach people sometime, if I can give them an alternative or let's say a choice to choose between two things, I make sure they are both positives. Because
Mm.
you have to trick sometimes the human brain, especially for people who give into negativity, because
Yeah.
they are ready to be defensive. They are on the defensive, if I can put it that way. So what you have
Mm.
to do is you have to go around it. And like your friends say, you have to rise above it. So find a way just not to receive it in your face.
Right. And when it comes to positivity, I mean, we're talking about affirmations, which is energy, which is positive, reinforce thinking.
Exactly.
Now, people say that there's three aspects of being, when you look at monks and Buddhists, there's the spiritual, there's the mental, and there's the physical part of being, evolved and happy on all energy levels as a human being. Now, do you think that there's affirmations that are associated, for instance, when it comes to the physical body with health,
Yeah.
or mental health, let's say? Do you think that there's particular affirmations to be read or taught to oneself when it comes to, mental health affirmations, for instance? Do you think that that helps us stay stable when it comes to our mental health?
Yeah, definitely. I'm one that will agree with what you just said now regarding the monks, for example. And, it's all aligned, like spirituality, mental, and physical. Now, even for the person who is not necessarily spiritual, when it comes to the mental part, it all depends on what you feed your mind with. If
Mm,
you,
mm.
I mean, if you feed your mind with negativity on a daily basis, that's all you're going to see. That's all you're going to breathe. That's all you're going to speak about. And at the end of the day, that's unhealthy. We meet so many people these days who suffer from anxiety or any other sort of mental illness. It's becoming such a paradigm these days. But the truth of
Yeah.
the matter, but the truth of the matter is, I'm not the person to engage into pity parties. However, I like to tell people this: you got yourself there without
Mm.
knowing. You got yourself there, and you can surely take yourself out of that. All you have to do is, elevate your thought process. Try to change your perspective on life and how you approach things. Because,
So Stefan, let's take it one step back. So I'm someone who is sponging down all this negativity, right? I know a lot of people like that, as a matter of fact, in my day-to-day life,
yeah,
who are literally drained, like they're like a sponge cake that is drained with all this, seriously, with all this negativity. And again, when you come from a place of compassion and empathy, you're saying, okay, well, you never know what people go through, and they might not be as conscious of their surroundings and whatever is going on in their head, so whatever they see they just absorb, right?
yeah,
Now, to those who are listening to this podcast, they're listening to two people talking about positivity and positive affirmations, and it's all lovely and dandy. It's like me listening to a bodybuilder that's saying do this and do that, but when it comes deep down to it, how do you actually become like them? So I want to take this one step back and I want to ask you, I am someone who is incredibly negative. I am drained in my negative thoughts. How can I pull myself out and start the first step of becoming a positive person?
well, the first step would be acknowledging already what you are doing to yourself. That's the first step, you know, because in all recovery process, if I can put it that way, there is always getting out of the stage of denial.
Right. So accepting.
Yes. And the thing is, so many people would blame other factors, other things, other people, but they don't look within. So accept, and go through that um, how do I put it? Self-examination process.
Mm, mm.
Look within and try to figure out what is it that am I doing wrong? What one thing can I change that can change everything else?
So you've examined, you've accepted, you've figured out that you're doing something wrong. How
Yes.
can we now shift that paradigm and say, okay, now I'm going to do something about this? So what is that step? What do I have to do? Like, this is very important because, okay, people who are negative usually know that they are. They can look deep down and they can figure out why they're negative. But then how do they change that?
Okay, this is where actually it's now depending on your personality. This is where you decide, can I go about doing it by myself? Do I need to seek professional help? Or do I need to
Mm,
get my loved ones in on this? Because what you have to define at that particular point is who or what is going to be your anchor.
okay. So some people need help to kind of step out of this phase of
Yes.
their life.
But either
Okay.
way, regardless of the nature of the help that you will choose, it will represent an anchor from that point going forward, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you need something that's going to keep you grounded and something that, and here's where actually I would like to draw the attention of everyone who is listening right now is that when you are in that particular phase, do not pay much attention to the way things are being told to you because in that healing process, you might not always like what you are being told or how it's being, put out there
Mm.
or
Mm.
presented to you. Because we live in a time whereby people like things to be sugar coated, even in the healing process. But flash news is when you go to the doctor and they're about to use that needle on you or whatever or something, okay, or the syringe, for example, they're not going to try to, they will try to make you relax, but at the end of the day, they cannot hold back on doing what they have to do in order for you to heal. Do you get my
Okay.
point? It's going to
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to hurt for a little bit. And the same thing goes for stepping out of that, mental issue stage is that you've already spotted the problem. Now you have to do something about it. And the doing something about it is never easy. Sometimes it's a painful process and sometimes it may take a day, it may take a week, it may take a month or even more. But
Yeah.
it's all about keeping the end in mind is that I want to get better. I want to get out of this, I need to
Yeah.
change.
Interesting. And in terms of affirmations, repeating affirmations and just staying positive, like adapting that lifestyle into your day-to-day living.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in particular that you say to yourself at the end of the day before you go to bed?
I say, wow, it was a great day.
And that's how you end the day.
That's how I end the day. You know why? Because that's me showing gratitude at the end of the day. I throw gratitude out there,
Right.
because
Right.
I'm the kind of person who, whenever I'm about to go to sleep, for example, I go through my whole day, the high moments, what happened and everything. And this is where you tap into your subconscious actually, because your subconscious is more aware than your conscious. Your conscious is
Mm.
busy with everything that happens in the now, but your subconscious is almost like a storage. That's when you tap into that and you kind of like review your whole day and you realize that although this might have happened, this also happened, and you know what? It was a good day after all.
Yeah.
It was a good day. And that's a note on which and then you look forward to tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow. And that's that.
Right. So you acknowledge you basically need to acknowledge what you have achieved and accomplished during the day. And then when you wake up the next day, it's the same thing all over again.
It's the same thing all over again, and even better is that you have this feeling of if I could do this yesterday, if I was able to do that, I think today I can do more. You
Yeah.
know?
And to kind of to wrap this up, I was listening to this podcast once, and there was this writer that said something very interesting. He said, I think he had gone through like an illness, and then when he survived it, he was asked, "What is it that you appreciated the most out of your experience?" And he said, "Acknowledging the fact that I am alive today is a blessing, and I will choose to appreciate and acknowledge that blessing on a day-to-day basis." So acknowledging and appreciating the fact that we are alive, that we are just counting your blessings is a very important thing.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
On a final note, Stefan, is there anything final that you would like to give as a tip to someone who would like to make that change, that shift in their life? Is there something that you would like to say, a final word?
Well, definitely is that to anyone out there listening to this, you are simply a choice away from turning things around. All you have to do is you need to want it, and you need to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Doesn't matter what you are going through, doesn't matter how big the storm is, You can turn things around just by starting to speak what you want to see. Believe me, open your mouth, say it, and mean it when you say it. And that's just that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Stefan, and I look forward to welcome you back very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nab. I had a great time as well. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll speak soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.